Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
We're in Way Media.
Attention all S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. This is Steve Rogers. You've heard a lot about me over the last few days. Some of you were even ordered to hunt me down.
But I think it's time you know the truth. S.H.I.E.L.D. is not what we thought it was. It's been taken over by Hydra.
Alexander Pierce is their leader. The Strike and Insight crew are Hydra as well. I don't know how many more.
But I know they're in the building.
They could be standing right next to you. They almost have what they want. Absolute control.
They shot Nick Fury.
And it won't end there.
If you launch those helicarriers today,
Hydra will be able to kill anyone that stands in their way.
unless we stop them. I know I'm asking a lot, but the price of freedom is high. It always has been. And it's a price I'm willing to pay. And if I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet I'm not.
Welcome back, Midnight viewers, to Father Malone's Weekly Roundup. I'm Father Malone, and this pretty little Valentine beside me is Miss Ripley Jean. Are you excited for the latest Hallmark holiday? And you're wearing pink collar with hearts, brand new. It's lovely. Have I told you how adorable you are lately? Well, you are. And all of you out there, you're pretty fucking adorable, too. Don't think I haven't noticed. Trying to be positive, y'all, while the whole world burns. Get your marshmallows and your chocolate. Hold the graham cracker, I'm gluten-free. I can't digest it, Ripley. That's why you get all of my fast food bread, baby. Speaking of indigestible, that delectable-looking morsel that just won't fucking settle in your stomach, that's Love Hurts.
Marvin Gable.
Who are you?
Your brother brought us in to find you. After you let Rose go.
Tell my brother to back off.
This little spider monkey ninja got hopped. Hey, what the? Rose?
Hey, Marv.
There were nights when the wind was so cold.
did you come back?
If we're gonna stop your brother, I'm gonna need the old you.
I'm so sorry.
Find my brother and Rose now!
Now let's finish this together.
You want the old me? You got him.
It's about damn time.
Sorry, brother. Love hurts.
Okay, before we go any further, there are a couple of things to recommend the movie. Although, not really. There is a scene where Ki-Hye Kwan and Sean Astin share a spontaneous hug, and when they did, I cried like a baby. It wouldn't be the last time the movie would push me to tears, though. The other recommendation is it features a performance by Mustafa Shakir. He was Big Mike on The Deuce. Someone give this giant man a giant role in something. Can you imagine him as a wandering Ronin Jedi in the years following Order 66? Just saying. Now, on to the film itself. Later today, I'm going to put John Wick 4 on the television, and I'm going to watch that scene where Keanu goes tumbling down all those stairs. And I'm going to enjoy it. I might even rewind it and watch it a second time, because John Wick has a lot to answer for. I now feel like those movies where we get to watch the shit kicked out of him for 2 or more hours at a clip is penance for what he ended up unleashing. We're in a post-John Wick era where every filmmaker seems to have a pedigree in stunt work first and screenwriting a distant third or fourth. Plenty of filmmakers can't write a word, you might say. No, but they can tell a fucking story. One that has more nuance than, these two guys need to fight using every item in a room as a weapon. Stuntmen as action filmmakers are nothing new. You know whose first gig was as a stuntman? John Ford. That should silence any naysayers. And if he had a full career as a stuntman before stepping behind the lens, it would make a little more sense. But we're talking about like 1917. I think the situation there in that brand new fucking industry was more of, hey, what can I do to help? Sure, I'll crank the camera. Oh, you need the lights strung up on the ceiling? Sure, I can fall off a horse. And it had less to do with Keanu Reeves' stunt double on The Matrix, which was just one of a long line of stunt gigs in a chosen career of falling down for actors. It probably sounds like I'm bagging on the very idea of stuntmen as directors, but that is not the case. I love those John Wick movies. And I've been a fan of the work of Hal Needham and the Baxley family. Hell, John Landis started out in stunts. You can see him in An American Werewolf in London during the Piccadilly Circus sequence. A car slams into him and knocks him through a plate glass window, which is totally insane. What if something actually went wrong and he got killed? Who would have finished that movie? That's right, I'm more upset about the idea of not having An American Werewolf in London than Landis's continued existence. Oh no, the show is devolving. I gotta stay positive. I can't. I had to watch Love Hurts. I don't know if it's love, but it certainly fucking hurt. I've often said that there's nothing at all wrong with an author putting out variations on a theme. My go-to is the Ramones. They wrote the same song for 30 years, but every one of them was distinctive, and every one of them had something to offer. Jim Thompson's novel Pop 1280 is a virtual remake of his own The Killer Inside Me, and I love both those books equally. Red Harvest and The Glass Key are very close, Dashiell Hammett. You get the idea. As long as something is quality, the origins are less and less relevant. But those are creators, not studios or production companies. We're talking about 87 North here. Surprise! It's David Leitch's company. He's half of the directing duo of that first John Wick. He'd go off to make Atomic Blonde, which was bad, Deadpool 2, which was bad, Hobbs and Shaw, not good, Bullet Train, continuing the trend, and The Fall Guy. Yeah. Chad Stileski, the other half of that duo, stuck with John Wick, directing only those. Although he's currently in pre-production on the Highlander remake with Henry Cavill, please let that script be good. Please let that script be good. We're not talking about Stileski here, though. It's David Leitch, who a couple of years ago produced Nobody. That's the Bob Odenkirk John Wick clone. At least in that case, it was Derek Kolstad writing. He created John Wick. Variations on a theme. And what are those themes? Former hitman enforcer has settled into a comfortable suburban existence and is suddenly dragged back into the life by unforeseen forces that require him to re-engage with his past and kill it once and for all. Okay, so there's the variation on the theme. Now we just need quality. which that movie, nobody was completely unable to deliver on. It got close. Some of the early action scenes are pretty fucking great, and Odenkirk performs exactly as he should have. The same instinct to stick the comedian into a drama carried over to action. Someone should have put him in peril 20 years ago. But it was ultimately to diminishing returns. Creatively. I mean, it did well enough at the box office to cement its formula over here with David Lech, because now that copy of John Wick gets its own copy here, less any of the creative staff from any of those successful early films. In the wake of Bruce Lee's death, you had every production company in Asia grabbing any up-and-coming martial artist and trying to cram him into the Bruce Lee mold, to deleterious effect. It's like trying to manufacture another Christopher Walken. Good luck. Go back and watch Jackie Chan's first few films, like Snake Fist Fighter. It was years till they figured out Jackie Chan's badassery wasn't the Clint Eastwood model. It was more the Charlie Chaplin with spin kicks model. Clearly, that's been a winning formula, and they try that here. A for effort. Ki Hei Kwan, our short round, our data, fuck you Brent Spiner, Johnny come lately. He's had a pretty great resurgence of late, what with the Academy Award and all. That's a fucking comeback. And he's as charming as ever. But this feels like that Norm Macdonald's Burt Reynolds impression after his rejuvenation thanks to Boogie Nights asked what he was going to do next. A car picture with Dom DeLuise. Though to be fair, those Cannonball Run movies, which featured Jackie Chan and was directed by a stuntman, had actual laughs in it. In fact, all of Jackie Chan's movies are solid comedies. Love Hurts wants to be a lighthearted version of John Wick, a romantic comedy version of John Wick. It can't get the action right, and that's with a bunch of stunt guys operating the camera. What chance do you think this comedy is going to be funny? It's not. At all. But that's par for the course here. The action isn't very exciting, the comedy isn't funny, and the romance is tepid and unearned. Romantic action films are a rarity. Good action romantic films are even rarer. Romancing the Stone, Princess Bride, Scott Pilgrim, Grosse Pointe Blank, True Romance, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Now, I have yet to dive into the TV show with Donald Glover, but Mr. and Mrs. Smith is the perfect example for Love Hurts. That's about married assassins who are unaware of their spouse's occupations. As a metaphor for relationships, I don't think it has a peer. You come together having no idea who the other is, you battle one another for identity and voice in the relationship, and then you figure out all the brawling can best be served by forming a true fucking partnership and taking on the world. What works in that film, other than having two of the most beautiful people on the planet performing in it, is that even though our leads are unaware of the other's capabilities, the audience isn't. Love Hurts starts with a perfunctory scene of Marvin in full Dexter mode, just bright and chipper and baking cookies and then handing out those cookies at the real estate office, and a montage of what a great realtor he is, and then right into the fucking action, which means unless we're going to get a protracted flashback, we're going to end up with entire fucking paragraphs of exposition from these characters. Why do you have Tippy, my brother Knuckles' accountant, tied up in your trunk? Well, he's the only person who knows the secret of the robbery and the frame-up. Ay, ay, ay. Expositional dialogue in skilled hands is mainly clumsy. Imagine what these stuntmen came up with. Do an extended flashback next time. You know, I was just about to get into the full plot and what would make sense and what didn't, but that would be completely pointless. It's just moments of exposition, fight scene, sub-Tarantino banter, fight scene, more laughable dialogue. Here, this will sum up the movie better than any synopsis. It has a scene where Marvin, on the run, has holed up at one of his unsold properties. He and Ariana DeBose, another Oscar winner, are bloodied and battered and shouldn't be there when the couple, who are prospective buyers, show up. So it's this whole comedy of manners, showing them the house while trying to conceal all the blood and the bandages and shit, and then the couple goes off on their own. And after a moment, the wife screams. It's a scream that says, "I've just walked into a bloodbath, and now my husband is being eviscerated in front of me." Marvin bursts into the room to find the husband and wife marveling at the new washer-dryer combo. She was screaming with excitement. Doesn't Marvin feel like a fool now? No, I do. I paid to see this. I hope this is the last of the accidental assassin movies, the they keep pulling me back in subset of actioners, because no matter how many times they remake it, they're never going to recapture the alchemy of the first John Wick. You know what it was? It was the gift his ailing wife had delivered to him after her death. It was the dog. Yeah, of course you think so. That beagle in the first film? That actor's name is Wick. Yes, the actual dog. No, they didn't name the film for him. It was the other way around. Would you pick a movie? HP, hit it.
Come and listen to a dog that's hip. Here we go, it's Riff Picks, yeah!
Thank you, HP. You'll always be the world's most dangerous band to me. Your pick could not be more timely, young patriot. This Friday, this Valentine's Day, are you listening, lovers? We'll see the release of Captain America: Brave New World. Original title, New World Order. That somehow seems more appropriate. To commemorate that release, we're taking a look back at what I consider the best of the Captain America films. That's the one where a World War II soldier finds himself decades later, a new century even, battling the same goddamned villain. Only it went underground since the 1940s, worming its way into every fabric of government. And now it intends to finish what it started. Just keep telling yourself it's only a movie. It's only a movie. It's only a movie.
Most of the intelligence community doesn't believe he exists. The ones that do call him the Winter Soldier. He's a ghost. You'll never find him.
I joined S.H.I.E.L.D. to protect people.
Captain, to build a better world, sometimes means tearing the old one down. And that makes enemies.
Fast. Strong. Had a metal arm.
Are you ready? All it takes is one step.
People are gonna die. I can't let that happen. Captain America needs my help.
When do we start?
We just did. The price of freedom is high. And it's a price I'm willing to pay. You told me not to trust anyone. This is how it ends. Everything goes.
Looks like you're giving the orders now, Captain.
Damn right.
How do we know the good guys from the bad guys? If they're shooting at you, they're bad.
If I have a yin-yang duo of superheroes I consider formative, then the dark would be represented by my main man, Batman, who forged his grief and loneliness into a weapon to shield the innocent. And in the light, Captain America, whose amplified decency became a literal shield against the darkness. I'm a Gen X kid. Let me tell you, during the 1980s, reading comics was not cool. It was for babies, according to every asshole of every generation, including my own. But if, God forbid, someone were to actually overhear you having a spirited conversation about a comic book, Batman might get you slightly less of a taunting than Cap. I mentioned Gen X, right? We were fed the same steady diet of rah-rah American our parents had been fed, including all of the same entertainment, the same movies and TV shows and propaganda that their parents had made for them. On top of which we had edutainment, like Schoolhouse Rock. There's gonna be fireworks, fireworks, you remember. But tempering that was the fact that the era we were steeped in included jubilation over the deposing of a president and the ending of what many considered an illegal war. Those are interesting scales to be asked to balance. And while I've never been ashamed to be an American, I'm also not running down the street waving the flag and chanting USA. We've done some fucked up shit over the years, including to our own citizens. So everybody calm down. which doesn't invalidate celebrating the nation. We do it institutionally on July 4th, and it deserves celebrating. The idea of America is fucking powerful, and it's one we should all be striving for. That goes for you English listeners as well. Not America, but the American dream is what I think of when I think of Cap. That everyone should have the freedom and opportunity to succeed and attain a better life. Pretty fucking simple. But just like Christianity would be spectacular if any of the Christians treated their neighbors as themselves, most people have focused on the succeeding and not the freedom to do so part of the American dream. Not Cap, not Steve Rogers. That kid from Brooklyn, he gets it. And as you know, what turned that frail kid into Cap was the serum, yeah, but it was what it amplified. His unbridled decency. It's a willingness to do the right thing in the face of any ideology that makes him special. And before I go any further, I just want to point out a couple of runs of the character that I really loved in the comics. During the 70s, for a brief time, Cap and Sam Wilson were private detectives in Harlem. That was pretty great. There was the Nomad period, where he was wandering the U.S. like a one-man super soldier zen in the art of motorcycle maintenance. I loved Cap Wolf. I might be the only one there, but I don't care. But if you want some prime what the fuck Captain America, check out the end of his original run. This was long after the war. It's now the 1950s, and they're just telling the same stories with Cap. Albeit some of the guys telling them are giants, like Bill Finger and Manly Wade Wellman. The 50s were fairly owned by horror comics. And since they didn't know what the fuck to do with this war relic, let's give him a run as a horror title. Thus, 2 issues of Captain America's Weird Tales. I did mention this was the end of his original run. I meant it. Captain America's Weird Tales shut Cap down till the 1960s. They were just anthology books with little or no Cap interaction, except for the first issue, which had Red Skull in hell, summoning Cap there, and then they have to go before Satan to decide who gets to return to Earth. It's pretty fucking great. The cover of the second and final issue has what looks like a dead ringer for the Crate from Creepshow. The story is in fact called The Thing in the Chest, but it has zero to do with King's story. Check out the cover, though, and tell me you're not intrigued. But the story is bad. Do not read it. It wasn't until the 1960s rebirth of Captain America that we got the frozen in ice backstory, and gave him another interesting shade, which is he was now a man out of time. An aspect of him that actually got better in the films because the length of time between then and now is so vast. In the 60s, Cap could have just hung out with everyone he knew from the war. They'd be weirded out by this younger, virile version of him, but it's not like he couldn't go back to Brooklyn and see most of the people he remembered. Not Cinema Captain America. Officially resurrected at the end of Captain America the First Avenger, a film I love, but I wish had more of a protracted second act. A montage of the Howling Commandos is fine, but I wanted to see them blazing all over Europe and stomping Nazis under their boots. I mean, Hydra. So, although he gets a bit of a readjustment period in the first Avengers film, it wasn't until Captain America the Winter Soldier that we really felt how adrift Steve Rogers is in our world. Not just culturally, which they address with the list he's been tabulating. One of the great lost plot threads in the MCU is whether or not Steve Rogers appreciated disco, or the Beatles in the UK, or Old Boy if you were in South Korea, or Chupa Chups if you were in Spain, or Shakira in Latin America, or Roberto Benigni in Italy. Yeah, the wonders of digital film prints. You can just drop any list in anywhere, no matter the region, which is actually really cool and kind of in keeping with Steve Rogers' character. So not just culturally, but politically and personally adrift as well. We get Captain America facing not only the more unsavory elements of the world's stage, but the personal regret and grief from his own time that he can't shake. Enter the Winter Soldier, thanks to Mr. Ed Brubaker and Steve Epting. Here's retconning and reimagining done right. Bucky Barnes, in the original comics, is a bit of a joke. He's like Robin to Cap's Batman, a kid out there frolicking in the trenches of World War II. I guess it made sense in the comics at the time because that's what all comics were doing, but when Cap came back in the 60s, Bucky stayed frozen. Mercifully. What came out of the ice in Brubaker's hands was not only a mirror image of Cap, in this case his best friend that he's been agonizing over losing for decades, but a nifty metaphor for all the PTSD all those greatest generation vets were carrying around with them. Unlike the book, the movie is set now, which means it's abandoned the length of grief that Steve has felt and gained something better. Cap and Bucky are now both out of time. It puts their conflict at even higher stakes. And it's got the elevator scene, y'all. There are plenty of action films, Marvel's included, where I'll throw on a scene from a particular film and, having seen it, don't really feel the need to re-experience some of the more interesting bits hung around it. Here, I can watch that fight scene endlessly, and the rest of the movie supports it. In fact, any one sequence in Winter Soldier could easily be the most spectacular finale for any lesser action flick. Remember when Sitwell got vaporized? Oh, baby. On top of which, Winter Soldier functions perfectly within the MCU. It's its own story, but it comes in freighted with past events and characters, and then has ramifications for the future of all of the films. We'd just gotten used to S.H.I.E.L.D., and now they've smashed it apart. True, they never really did anything with that, owing perhaps to professional asshole Joss Whedon and his need to get Ultron into the world, treating the genuine menace engendered in Winter Soldier as a fucking joke at the beginning of the next Avengers film. Which I should note was the next film in the MCU, just completely ignoring Hydra and what it's done to S.H.I.E.L.D. Winter Soldier was at least able to plant the seed for the final film in the Steve Rogers trilogy. When Hydra finally reveals itself in the form of a computerized Arnim Zola, I love Toby Jones. He was Steve Rogers in The Mist. Think about it. Zola reveals that Howard and Maria Stark were assassinated by Hydra. That'll pay off in Civil War. On a completely nerded out level, we got the Triskelion for the first time in this film. We got Sam fucking Wilson, the Falcon. Okay, maybe he can't communicate with birds telepathically anymore, but that's okay. I was just overjoyed to see him show up. We got Batroc the Leaper in that bravura opening sequence. We got Agent 13, Sharon Carter. Used to be Peggy's sister in the comics. Super weird. She's her grandniece now, which doesn't make anything about their relationship any less weird. We meet Strike, and we meet Alexander Pierce. Speaking of weird, Pierce in the comics was just a high-level S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Here, they've promoted him to the head of the World Security Council. In Avengers, that spot was taken by Powers Booth's Gideon Malik. Mr. Booth's death necessitated a recast, and they fucking nailed it. Joe and Anthony Russo, the film's directors, went on and on about their influence of 70s Cold War thrillers. If you're going to ape that, you might as well pull in Robert Redford. He's just walking gravitas through what might some dismiss as a typical superhero flick. And the movie has a deepening of every single character portrayed. As propulsive as the film is, and it never stops, it somehow manages to find moments between characters. Pairing Cap and Black Widow is just beautiful, her being another shade of him, as well as the characters on their own. Nick Fury finally gets a fucking action scene, and it's amazing. Steve Rogers also gets to do a lot of soul-searching in this film, as much maybe as he'll do in the entire series. Well, until Civil War. Or Infinity War. Or Endgame. He never stops evolving, while never abandoning his own core values. He's the best. Perfect example of that evolution. Watch the way Cap fights from movie to movie. He just gets more and more modern and better overall. If you sent Endgame Cap back to any point in history, he would have won. I don't care what timeline, I don't care if there was magic involved, he was going to win. But at the center of this film is the relationship between Bucky and Cap. It's one of two real relationships threading through the entire series. Though their involvement pretty much ends after Civil War, it's wildly important to the series. After all, Bucky is still out there fucking up shit in the MCU. He ends up being not just a symbol of everything Steve Rogers has lost, or the guilt and grief of his past made flesh, it's also his pal. The one he looked up to and could depend on in the face of anything, till the end of the line. Though I said that's one of two relationships in the series, clearly the one that begins and ends Steve Rogers' story is Peggy Carter. Now, that's a love story for Valentine's Day. Watch First Avenger and then Endgame. Do not watch Civil War. Here in Winter Soldier, the visual effect on Haley Atwell is stunning, though no more stunning than her performance. I understand that their scene together may have been intended for Avengers, but I'm glad it wasn't. Fuck those guys. Peggy and Steve are just the fucking ideal, and the whole scene here is heartbreaking. Yes, I cry every time. Every time. There is a line, in fact, from this movie that is one of the last things my wife ever said to me before she passed. So maybe we'll talk about Peggy and Steve at another time. It deserves a bit more than my quippy nonsense. There's a conversation early in Winter Soldier between Rogers and Fury that struck a chord with me when the film came out. I think it cuts straight to the heart of who Steve Rogers is, who Captain America is, and what he actually stands for. One during which all the themes of guilt and despair of the past are met head-on.
After New York, I convinced the World Security Council we needed a quantum surge in threat analysis. For once, we're way ahead of the curve.
By holding a gun to everyone on Earth and calling it protection.
You know, I read those SSR files. Greatest Generation? You guys did some nasty stuff.
Yeah. We compromised, sometimes in ways that made us not sleep so well. But we did it so that people could be free. This isn't freedom. This is fear.
S.H.I.E.L.D. takes the world as it is, not as we'd like it to be. And it's getting damn near past time for you to get with that program, Cap.
Don't hold your breath.
A stuntman of love hurts. That's how you do exposition as dialogue. Captain America, The Winter Soldier, you know where you can find it. I'm burning through the entire Cap series of flicks and TV series. Boy, man, Agent Carter's great. I'm doing it all in preparation for Friday's new Captain America flick. I think Sam is the obvious and perfect successor. I know Bucky held the shield for a while in the comics, but Sam is a natural for the MCU. Although anyone taking up the mantle of Captain America does remind me of the Jerry Seinfeld routine about rooting for your hometown baseball team.
Loyalty to any one sports team is pretty hard to justify. Because the players are always changing, the team can move to another city. You're actually rooting for the clothes when you get right down to it. You know what I mean? You are standing and cheering and yelling for your clothes to beat the clothes from another city.
Nevertheless, I am excited to watch Captain America kick the shit out of Thunderbolt Ross, President Ross, for as long as that scene goes on. What do you think, kid? Is Winter Soldier the best Captain America flick? What, the 1990 one? Oh, good. I thought you'd lost your canine mind. The TV movie with Christopher Lee. You're mental. Don't be mental like her. Watch Winter Soldier. And if you haven't yet started watching Yellow Jackets, you better fucking start. Next season comes out on Valentine's Day. Gotta love that. I'll have thoughts. I always do. Join us this Friday for a very special episode of Midnight Viewing. It's a crossover episode with the Noise Junkies podcast. That's Music Man Extraordinaire's HP's podcast. He also has a new album out on Bandcamp. You got to check that out as well. He and I sat down to talk about the misbegotten 1978 jukebox musical Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Where else can you watch Barry Gibb hit a joint handed to him by Donald Pleasance? That's out on Friday. Or if you want to hear it right now, head over to patreon.com/Father Malone. Subscribers get all episodes early and commercial-free, and sometimes they get early drafts of things that I didn't mean to post. But as a subscriber, you'll also get access to shows you can only get there, like Cable Box Theater. But if money is tight, boy, I am broke. I guess we all are. And we will be. You can still be a decent person. You can be a Steve Rogers. Come on. Be Steve Rogers. Give this show a like or 5 stars, or write some nice words about it, or share it, or make some nerd listen to it and watch his head explode, as I'm certain there were some mistakes made in my reporting. Anyway, help out any way you can, and I'll continue to do so as well. Gonna leave you with a bit from Captain America. It is from a Captain America movie, Civil War. They gave the line to Sharon Carter there, but it came from Cap originally. In Civil War, Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1, Captain America says this to Spider-Man. And I should note that this speech that is going off like a gong in my head lately was written by J. Michael Straczynski, whom we've given a kicking to here on Midnight Viewing for his work on Twilight Zone 85. Rereading this speech, I take it all back. Every fucking word against him. Here is Steve Rogers, a character conceived to smash fascism. Doesn't matter what the press says. Doesn't matter what the politicians or the mob say. Doesn't matter if the whole country decides that something wrong is something right. This nation was founded on one principle above all else. The requirement that we stand up for what we believe, no matter the odds or consequences. When the mob and the press and the whole world tells you to move, your job is to plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and tell the whole world, no, you move.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.